Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my September 2019 Astrology Must-Knows for all signs. Definitely you will want to check out my sign-specific videos for September as well, but this is something that is a companion to the sign-specific videos, so you definitely need to listen to both in order to have all the things that you need to make the most of this month. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, to check out my blog, which always has extensive ways to assist you with the current astrology and how you can maximize the potentials. And you can also check out my astrology education options at anniehelpsyou.com. If you love written horoscopes and you'd like to see those by me, you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com to get written horoscopes, often focusing on different things than I discuss in the videos, and always a month early, just like I have the videos. Okay, so this month, September 2019, has so many aspects to discuss, I can't even believe it. August was a month where we had around 14 aspects that were notable. This month we have double that. So the just sheer astrological busyness of just aspect after aspect after aspect, sometimes multiple happening on the same day, and just, constantly so many factors to work with is one of the things that makes September very noteworthy. There's also something else that makes September very noteworthy, and that is its place, the types of stars that we have this month. There's an important thing to note about September that is critical for understanding the rest of 2019 and critical to understanding all of 2020. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into some of the energies of 2020 so that we can help place September 2019 in the whole scheme of the bigger picture. So I'm also going to go over the 3 must-knows, which have to do with Earth trines, and which have to do with Pisces Virgo oppositions, and which have to do with Virgo coming and squaring Jupiter. Because in August we had Leo planets making beautiful aspects to Jupiter and Sag, but now we've got all of those same planets moving through Virgo and making squares, which are challenging aspects to Jupiter. So I want to explain to you what that means, how you can best use it, and the dates to expect all of these things. So I'm going to pop the charts in so that you have the visual for what I'm about to show you, and I can also take notes and organize things as far as these time frames that we're going to be discussing. So let's look at the charts now. Okay, so I'm calling the theme of September 2019 for all signs. To get to the goal, to ask these critical questions. And of course, obviously, I will be listing those questions, and I'll go into lots more details besides that. So there was a massive amount of energy that had opened for expansion in August. So it's very common that when we're in the middle of an expansion, and this had come from Jupiter going direct in August, and then before these planets got into Virgo, they were in Leo and they were making these beautiful aspects. Okay, so this portal opened for all of this expansion. But in a planet of polarities and duality, we have checks and balances. So it's just not about an excessive freedom expansion spree. So it's very commonly in the midst of an expansion, there's that time where there's analysis and second guessing. So September is that time. Okay, so besides having a lot of beautiful aspects, we also have a lot of challenging ones. We are going to go into lots of details about those. But there are quite a few of them are oppositions with Neptune. And these tend to bring uncertainty and self-doubt from the outside. So the combination between, see what's going to happen here is Neptune is here, and so all these planets are going to be opposing these ones. And that's a lot of opposition energy. And so we're going to talk about what that means, but that's one of the things that's making a theme of, self-doubt, reflection, uncertainty that's coming up. Then where all of those trines from these planets moving through Leo were hitting Jupiter, all of these Virgo planets are now going to make squares. And squares are totally different energies than trines. So again, we're going to go into more details about that, but it's a combination of these things as well as some sweet stuff that we've got going on here. Let's get this mess out of the way so I can show you the other pieces here. We've got all these making trines with all of these. So that beautiful aspect of trine that we love, that brings harmony and productivity and wonderful outcomes, is also going to be present in the midst of all this other stuff. And also, you can see you've got a trine here, there, with Mercury and Uranus. So, and that was a carryover from August, where we had a lot of these planets all had trined Uranus, bringing these happy surprises, which was the theme of August. Okay, so you can kind of see now how with the planetary shifts, there's a little bit of it, well, a lot of a different climate here. So here are questions to ask based on the aspects this month. Is the foundation that you have built strong enough to continue expansion? That's one of the checks and balances that we have here. So, things are expanding, and the question is your foundation strong enough to continue that? Do your ambitions have to be reined in to be sustainable? Jupiter is notorious for having, it's all about expansion, especially when it's in the sign that it rules. So when you have these squares, one of those questions that comes up is, well, besides the first thing, is the foundation strong enough? The second thing is, did you get a little carried away with your ambitions from those energies in August? Have you overextended or overcommitted yourself and need to shift priorities and commitments? Have you possibly found a comfortable spot now, like a plateau to rest and evaluate what's happened? Are there details that you missed that you now have to address, or details necessary for moving forward? And details are a big reason why this month is so important, because all of these planets moving through Virgo, they're in conflict with this, but they're in harmony with here, but it is all about the details. So are you close enough to your goal to push hard this month to attain it before the retrograde spree begins? This is where we're going to position September 2019 in the scheme of the upcoming year and a few months. What can you do now that will set you up to best use this last open period before the wall of retrogrades come? All right, so these are things to keep in mind. So before we go and drill into the aspects of this month, I want to give you a little background on why this month is important over the scheme of the upcoming time. All right, so if you've been following my work for a while, I'm a person that focuses on retrograde energies. This is one of my areas of expertise. A retrograde is when a planet in the sky appears to us on Earth as it's going backwards. It's not going backwards, but it appears to us as it's going backwards, and it has certain effects on our experience. Retrogrades tend to bring a focus backwards and inwards. Okay, so this is like the tide is coming in. The tides are coming in. So the reason why this is important is because if you have something that you want to launch, like putting a boat out into the ocean to get off a deserted island, right? You want to wait till the tide goes out. August was one of those months. So if you're watching this early, August is when you're like pushing out, push all your stuff out. And September is another one of those months. And that's why September is important, because once we get to October 12th, the pre-Mercury shadow period begins. And it goes until, basically this whole Mercury cycle goes until December 8th. All right, so let me write a little grid here of these important dates to note so that you have them for your planning purposes. If you don't have anything to launch, you don't have any big decisions to make, you don't have anything really new that you're planning, then this might not be relevant for you. It's for the people who have big plans, big decisions, big projects. You want to know so you can time your efforts. Okay, so all of September through October 12th is completely clear from personal planet retrogrades. October 12th through October 31st is a Mercury shadow period. A shadow period is where the energy starts building, and manifestations of the retrograde, which are confusion, changes to plans, ruling more of short-term things, uncertainty. Those are some of the taglines of retrogrades, which is why we don't launch during retrogrades, and why it's hard to make big decisions during retrogrades, because often you don't have all the information, and things that you have might not be accurate, And so it's more of a time to kind of hang in and just deal what's coming to you rather than trying to push stuff out. Okay, so that's the shadow is October 12th through the 31st. Then October 31st through November 19th. Well, actually, we'll say 20th. Okay, so November 20th. And again, you know, if you're in different time zones, these dates could be toggled by a day or so. But the October 31st to November 20th is the actual retrograde. And then from November 21st through December 8th, you're in the post-retrograde shadow period. Okay, so as you get closer to December 8th, things get more clear. And then for the rest of December, all of January, and the first 2 days of February, they're completely clear. Okay, so from December 8th through, of 2019, through February 2nd of 2020, you've got clear, open stars, some nice aspects to work with. And this period of time, so you've got September through October 12th, and then you have December 8th through February 2020, which are your big open times before the wall of retrograde starts February 3rd and runs for the whole rest of 2020. Now, there will be some parts where I call, like, you can pop up for air, where there's not anything actually retrograde, but maybe a month is covered in a shadow period. So there could be some you know, space to squeeze some things in. And then in December of 2020, it's the post-Mars retrograde shadow period. So you might be able to squeeze some things in December of 2020. But otherwise, you know, this is your time right now and in that next window that I talked about. So you got to do something really, really big launches, trying to push out when the tides are going out. But otherwise, the theme is going to be the tides are going inward and backwards. Now, do really, really hear what I'm saying. That retrograde energies can be amazing. And I have a long list of resources with a long list of ways that you can best use these retrogrades. And I will be prepping you on all of this and walking through it with you, holding your hand, you know, as we go through this together. But one of the things that it's not great for is trying to make a big decision, also trying to launch something huge out into the world or start something completely new or have clarity for plans. You know, for really trying to plan and strategize. Okay, so now that you understand the importance of September in the scheme of the upcoming time, we can go back to the pieces that I wanted to discuss for this month. So the first, let's see. Okay, so some pieces to remember, keep in your mind. Hard work, discipline, and creating systems are a really great way to use the excessive earth energies, and they can really pay off. Previous work done can come through in a big way now. So that's, you know, that could be part of how these earth trines show up. You can get things done, you know, launch dates, important things. But do remember, we've got about, let's see, about 28 aspects this month. And I'm not going to go into all of them now. Okay, so if you want a written version of all those 28 aspects, what the aspects are and what you can expect from them, plus some of the things I've talked about here just in a written review a month early, this is what the people on my email list receive. If you're in my email crew, you get this. So you can sign up for that at anniehelpsyou.com. And also when you sign up for my free newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com, sorry, it's dripping over here, you also receive my Shine 28-day virtual coaching program for free. Okay, so I am going to hit a lot of highlights here, but if you want the complete list, you got to go to the website and sign up. All right. There is a chance for some eclipse-related things to still be dribbling in now, so you might see that, but it's not, you know, the wild, chaotic eclipse season as it was in June, July, and August. Things are sort of settling in with the new changes that have occurred. Okay, so while I'm not as wild about this month as I was about August, you know, because if you haven't watched your August horoscopes, the theme is happy surprises, and wow, there is just a lot of sweetness that month. But this is still definitely one of the best months for taking important action. we want things to be well planned and making calculated decisions. You definitely, it's not a time to throw caution to the wind, and that's for multiple reasons. But it is a good time to be productive. Towards the end of the month, the Libra energies start to dominate and they get back into accord with Jupiter. But we do have to discuss the conflicts of the Virgo planets. Okay, so the sweet aspects this month that you can try to jive with important things you have to do are going to be, and there are going to be more besides this, which I list in the newsletter, but we're going to focus on these trines here. So September 1st, 6th, 8th, 9th, 13th, 14th, and 19th. Now, this is a weird month in the way that some of these dates are also going to have possible challenges. So there's a sweet aspect on the same date as there's a challenging aspect. So that's why I always say that you have to trust your intuition and your personal flow over what I say or what any other astrologer says. Because we can't see what's going on in your personal chart, and we can't tell how these energies, okay, so the sweet aspects of these trines are going to occur on those days. And that can bring a lot of tangible movement and momentum. Now remember, we're not looking at this. We're not looking at the houses when we're looking at this general transit. That we're just looking at the relationship between the signs and the aspects. Okay, so the sweet aspects are going to be on those days. Then we've got the oppositions. So these oppositions where you feel like you're getting drawn and quartered in the square, that's what an opposition feels like, unfortunately. You're being pulled in two different directions. It's 4th, 7th, 10th, 13th, and 14th. Okay, so we got that. And then the squares, the Earth squares with Jupiter, so these aspects here, coming and squaring here, are going to be on the 2nd, the 6th, the 8th, the 12th, and the 21st. So you notice that some of these are in common, whereas sweet date and there's a challenging one. So the best way I can describe how to understand these energies is like when you're at the beach and there's a current of warm water. Okay, so we're going to make that red. All right, so then you're there and you're like, ooh, that's warm. And then you're like, ooh, that's cold. There's a current. So like this part of your body is feeling this cold current, and this part of your body is feeling this warm current. And you're like, wow, those are both going on at the same time. I feel both hot and cold, right? Not one is not more true than the other. And they are. These astrological energies are like currents. They weave around us and through us, through our experience. We experience them differently per the individual, both with just how we process information and what's going on in our personal charts and other factors. So when you have a month like this, where there are sweet aspects that coincide with, more salty ones, then it's like those currents. That's why when you're like seeking your timing, let's say you pick, okay, the 1st, which is a beautiful day. There are 2 trines on that day. I'm going to launch something important that day. Well, if that day comes and you start to feel some of the effects of this challenging aspect on the 2nd, you're like, woo, not feeling very good today. Not going to do it. But then the next day you're back. Even though the aspect that's challenging is actually on the 2nd, you might have already experienced that challenge. So, following your intuition and tuning into the energies is the most critical thing that I hope to teach people when I'm talking about astrology. Don't get so glued to a date. Well, Annie said this date is going to be good. No, definitely wouldn't say that. I'd say on that date, there are aspects that carry certain potentials, and we can feel those days before and days after. And for the, certain aspects, like ones that are outer planets, we can feel those weeks before and after. So the key words to note for the trines that are going to occur are productivity, accomplishment, launch, detail-oriented, focus on details, accomplishment. And I love that. Okay, so now when we've got these oppositions, the things to note, especially when you've got an opposition with Neptune, is guard your security. Security on every level, your home, your internet, breaches of security, deception, overwhelm, overstimulation, confusion, uncertainty, disillusionment. You're going to be seeing those weave throughout. But do remember that whenever we have an opposition, it's not just these negative potentials. They are very common. But oppositions, I always say that they help you to access your superhero self. Because sometimes you need to have being pulled in two different directions to transcend either of them and get in a super wonderful groove. So even though these energies could show up, if you're doing your inner work and you're, consciously aware of what's happening, you can find that you can hit a really sweet stride. Okay, so the other thing that I want you all to know about these squares with Virgo and Jupiter, and I did allude to some of this already. Jupiter's wanting to expand. Virgo's wanting to give a dose of realism. So you could experience some of this as a bummer or a buzzkill because you're like, hey, man, I just want to expand. Just let me do my thing. Let me have my flow, right? And these Virgo energies come in and say, nope, what about the details? That's not realistic. That's not a good plan. You need a better strategy. But the good news about that for the long term, as annoying as it can be, like you're going to be like, rah, right? In the short term. But in the long term, if you take the time to just rein it in, get a system, get organized, and cut off some of the fat, then you're going to be able to be more streamlined with your efforts and expand even more as Jupiter finishes its turn through Sagittarius. Okay, so the basic overview of the month is if you've got to launch something or do something important, this is a great time for action. You are going to have deterrents to the action and other things that are kind of getting in your way. So you have to have a good strategy. It can't be willy-nilly. You've got to deal with the details. And you have to remember the open periods of time. If it looks like you're not quite ready to launch now, think about that December, January timeframe to get your big things out in the world. And this month could be perfect for getting your ducks in a row, getting your plan together of what has to happen between now and that time in order to push your big things out before that wall of retrogrades. So I hope that the challenging aspects make you have your superhero self come out in full force. I hope that the squares do their job and in preparing you for a better foundation. And I hope those earth trines sweeten up your life in magical ways, bringing wonderful outcomes for work you've already done and wonderful launching pads for the things that you're set to do. Definitely go to my website, AnnieHelpsYou.com. At AnnieHelpsYou.com, I have all kinds of goodies there. Besides signing up for my free email newsletter, which we mentioned before, and you're getting that free virtual coaching course, you can also see my other extensive blogs that can help you with current transits and all kinds of other things. Then you can look for my Train Your Brain section. This is where I have my subliminal audio library. Subliminal audios came to me a very long time ago, and anything that I worked on at that time in my life with subliminals, I have in my life now as normal things. So these are really inexpensive, powerful ways to shift your neuronal pathways to create the life of your dreams. Okay, so you can look at that on AnnieHelpsYou.com. Definitely, if you love how I teach and you want to learn, you can look at my astrology education options. So you can click on Learn Astrology once you get there. And my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days, has become a beloved favorite of fellow spiritual seekers, purse-toting, bedside-carrying, placing type of a book. And you can you can just put Radical Prayer Annie in Amazon, or you can go to radicalprayerbook.com. My husband has an increasing amount of really cool resources, and you can see what he gets into at IamHelios.com. He also does tarot and astrology readings. So I hope you have a wonderful September, and I'll see you next month. Bye.